Welcome to IVF This, episode 106, Baby Showers and Gender Reveals. Welcome to IVF This. I'm your host, Emily Ginn. After 10 years of primary and secondary infertility due to both male and female factor infertility, I am now the mother to 3 beautiful miracles. I am married to my favorite person in the world. I'm a social worker, a life coach, and an IVF warrior. I'm here to teach you how to manage your mind and emotions during your IVF journey, to break free from anxiety and regain control of your life, even in the midst of infertility. I'm going to teach you how to say IVF this to how we think about, talk about, and experience infertility. Let's go. Hello, my beautiful friends. I hope you're all doing so well today. Whatever day it is that you're listening to this, I'm going to jump straight into the topic today. I think the fears and the frustrations that we experience around gender reveals or baby showers is a pretty universal experience for IVFers or anyone on a fertility or infertility journey, however you want to describe it. Today, we're going to talk about managing your emotions when you're not invited to one and how to ensure that you're going to take care of yourself in either scenario, because that's really the most important thing. I'll fold in pregnancy announcements a little bit. I think I have a little bit of a topic that I'm going to cover at the end, but I don't want that to be the primary focus. Mostly because pregnancy announcements, for their part, are kind of an involuntary thing, meaning that you have a choice whether or not you attend a baby shower or a gender reveal. You might not feel like you have a choice, but you do have a choice. And very often pregnancy announcements are something that we find out by scrolling social media. We hear it from a friend of a friend. People call us without warning. People announce it mostly without our previous knowledge, but sometimes with our knowledge or even our suspicions. I'll do a future episode on how to manage kind of pregnancy and birth announcements, specifically the ones that you're not expecting. But for now, I want to make sure it's understood at the outset that I will reiterate something throughout this entire episode, that you always have the choice if you want to attend or not. Again, you might not feel like you have the choice, especially if it's someone like in your immediate family or your extended family or a close friend, but you always have the choice. So let's start from the moment we receive those invitations, right? There are thoughts, so many thoughts that come to us, right? When is it going to be my turn? This isn't fair. If I go, everyone's going to ask me about where we are with having kids. Why don't I get my happiness? Why do they deserve happiness more than I do? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then amongst those thoughts, there are usually a lot of self-judgment, right? Or thoughts that are laced in self-judgment. I'm such a terrible friend or a terrible person. I can't be happy about anything. I've even had clients say that they fear that once they finally do get pregnant, that no one will want to celebrate with them because it took so long. And that just feeds into that time scarcity piece that we all experience. So there's a few things to remember that when we receive our invitations for one of these types of parties, one, you get to choose whether or not you go, whether you attend or not. 2, you don't have to decide that moment. And 3, you can change your mind. Again, you might not feel like you can do any of those things, but sometimes something feeling true and something being true are very different. So let's break down the invited section into 2 parts. The first part is you are an invited guest, and the second part is that you are participating in some way or even hosting the party. So when you are a guest, there tends to make less responsibility towards attending, even if it's someone that you're really close with or even family. So as you are deciding if you want to attend, the most important thing for you to consider is, what are you willing to manage your mind around? And when I say that, what I mean is this: there are going to be thoughts and uncomfortable feelings either way. There isn't really, I can't really think of an option that doesn't include at least some degree of discomfort. You will have thoughts and feelings if you attend or not, like in making that decision. If you have thoughts and feelings on the day of whether you are going to the party or staying home, And they're going to come. If everything in life is 50-50, which I talk about a lot on this podcast, then you can know with absolute certainty that if you go, you will have times when it probably will feel fun and light and maybe exciting. You're glad that you're connecting with your community, and you're going to experience thoughts that are very painful associated with seeing pregnant bellies, or even if kiddos are going to be there, and possibly being asked invasive questions. Like, it's going to be 50-50. If you stay home, you might feel relief from not being there, but that doesn't mean that there won't be thoughts and feelings associated with feeling left out or being isolated, left behind. All of those are kind of open game when we talk about these kinds of scenarios. I think for a lot of us, and myself included several times in my life, we have this belief that if we kind of decide one way or another, then whatever emotion we expect to experience should be the only emotion that we experience. And that's never true. We are emotionally complex humans. We feel a range, a variety of emotions at any given moment, every single day. And I think that there is so much pain that comes from what we expect, how we expect to feel. And then when we don't, or we don't exclusively feel that way, then we make that mean that something terrible has happened, or there's something wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with you. You're human. More than one thing can be true at the same time. It can be true that you want to celebrate with your friends or family, and that being in that situation and the thoughts associated with being there can cause you a tremendous amount of pain. Both of those things can be true. In any scenario that might be specific to you, there is no right or wrong answer. It doesn't exist. So again, you can go back to that question: what am I willing to manage my mind around? Are you more willing to manage your mind around the thoughts and feelings you will have by going? Or are you more willing to manage your mind around the thoughts and feelings that are going to come to you about not attending? And by the way, this decision will vary based on who we're talking about, when the situation is, where you might be going. You might be willing to manage your mind around going to one of these parties because it's your best friend that you've known since middle school. But maybe you're not willing to manage your mind around your cousin's shower, or vice versa, right? This isn't a one-size-fits-all sort of a situation. If you have RSVP and it's the day of, but maybe you just got a negative beta or a less than stellar genetic or embryo report or something like that, then maybe you're not going to be in the best headspace to attend. And that's okay. I had a client in that nearly exact situation. She was excited to go. She had a friend that she had known and cared for a long time. But the day of, or maybe a couple of days before the shower, she received news that she didn't have any viable embryos. And she and I met between finding out about the embryos and the shower. I think there was like a 2 or 3 day span. And there was so much tension that she felt because she really wanted to go and be with her friends. She had RSVP'd weeks before. She had bought the gift and everything. But she really didn't think that it would be good for her to go. She felt very trapped. So through our discussion, she decided that she would send a text to the mom-to-be and let her know that she would not be attending. We planned out the script that she would use, all her words. I think it was something like, I love you, and this is not about me not wanting to celebrate you. It's more about me needing space and time to process my own heartache, and I don't want to be anything but joyful for you on this special day. And that's just not something I'm able to do right now, and I'm sorry and I love you, right? It was something like that. She dropped off her gift a few hours before the shower and went for a run. I think she took a shower, maybe eat some greasy takeout or something. And she laid in bed and allowed herself to feel sad, right? What she didn't do, which is really important, is she didn't indulge in any of the brain drama of you're a terrible person, you're so negative, you're a terrible friend, why can't you just be happy with things? Why can't you just be happy in life, right? All of that nonsense that we say to ourselves, she didn't indulge in any of it. She knew to expect it because we had talked about it, but that was those thoughts that were going to come either way. So she might as well just make the decision based on what she knew she needed in that moment to take care of herself. And yes, people will have opinions about you, whether or not you attend. That's human nature. But you know what other people's opinions aren't? Your problem or your responsibility. They're not. I know it's easier said than done, but I want you to think about this. People are going to have opinions regardless, meaning whether you attend or not, people are going to have their opinions and maybe even share their opinions. And those opinions are based solely on that person's feelings, thoughts, experiences, and things that you have nothing over. You have no control over these things. And most importantly, those aren't things that you can change. They're going to have them either way, and none of the opinions are actually about you. They are what that person believes that they would do or should do in that situation. Remember, two things can be true at the same time. That person thinks you should be doing something, and you know that you need to be doing this other thing to take care of yourself. And when I say that someone thinks you should be doing something, that opinion is not a universal fact or truth. So when I say that more than two things can be true at the same time, I mean that their decision, their opinion can be true for them, and your decision and your opinions can be true for you. But since your decision is based on what you know you need, you like your reasons, and you're making the decision based on what you need rather than maybe a feeling of obligation, those are the only things you can control. Those are the only things that matter in that situation. So again, those few things to remember when you receive an invitation from one of these types of parties. Number one, you get to choose whether or not you attend. Number two, you don't have to decide right away. And number three, you can change your mind at any time. I even had a client tell me that she had RSVP'd to a gender reveal and then decided, I think it was like the day before, that she didn't want to go. That by going, she was going to self-inflict is how she described it, additional unnecessary pain. So she texted the person she RSVP'd, or maybe it was even the mom-to-be, that she was sick because it was like the next day or something. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were sick. And she said, yeah, like I'm sick of this infertility shit. Which I thought was genius because it wasn't a lie. But she allowed herself to change her mind, and she liked her reasons for not going. So she had her own back the whole time. All right, I want to switch gears to when you don't get the invitation, because that does happen. Maybe you weren't planning on attending, but you expected an invite, or even if you feel like you still would have gone or at least tried to go but never received an invite, this hurts. It does, it hurts. There's no two ways about it. It just sucks. The first thing I want you to remember is that when you don't get the invite, it's not because of you. Whomever is making that decision is basing that decision on their thoughts about you and their situation. Maybe they think they are sparing you from something painful, or they don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, or I don't know, maybe they're just an asshole. That's always an option. I do find I am much more at peace when I choose to believe that people are doing their best. Right? That doesn't mean that people can't cause harm when they're trying their best. It just means that I don't automatically assign a negative meaning behind things. If someone decides not to invite you, it's not because of you. It's their thoughts about you. It's how they think they would feel in that situation. It's their own desire for comfort. Seeing people in pain or believing that someone is in pain is uncomfortable. So in the face of their discomfort, they make decisions for you, thinking they are doing what is best or in service to you. But like most things, people make decisions that are usually based in service of themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. That is just how we operate on any given time, right? Now, does all of that mean that you shouldn't feel hurt? No. Not at all. But I find that when you can empathize or even just understand, however you want to word it, why people do the things that they do, you're much less likely to personalize it. You're much less likely to make that mean something about you. We are much more likely to place the ownership of that decision where it belongs, on the person who made the decision. And it doesn't have to be even out of anger. You can be hurt and understand why they did that, why they made a decision that you don't agree with. That's okay too. Remember, two things can be true at the same time. Now, how do you handle not receiving an invite is similar to how you would handle getting the invite. You get to decide what to do. Do you have a conversation with that person, like the mom or parent-to-be? Do you ignore it? Do you write them off? You get to decide. You don't have to decide right away. In fact, I would strongly encourage you to take some time, journal about it, create some space for yourself to grieve without making it mean that there is something wrong with you, and intentionally deciding how you would like to proceed. And know that you always have the right to change your mind. Now, I did mention that I would touch on pregnancy announcements. So this would go for when you're meeting up with a friend or a group of friends and you have a suspicion that an announcement will be part of that get-together. Maybe a friend calls you up to have dinner or otherwise makes plans with you and you're pretty sure, maybe not certain, but you're pretty sure that that will be the topic of conversation. The same rules, the same framework applies. What are you willing to manage your mind around? You get to choose whether or not you attend. You don't have to decide right away. And you can change your mind at any time. What I want to leave you with is that in this time in your life, this journey is hard enough. We do not need to make it harder on ourselves. We can lovingly make decisions that support ourselves and how we choose to take care of ourselves. And sometimes those decisions are going to be in opposition to what other people believe or think that you should do. And that's okay. You are the person you will be spending the entire rest of your life with. You are the person who are going to be experiencing grief, joy, sadness, happiness for the rest of your life with. You are the person on your journey, not someone else. You're the only person who knows what is best for you or how to take care of you. Knowing that you have your own back, well, that is a gift that I want for each and every one of you. Okay, that is what I have for you today. I hope you have a great week and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of IVF This. If you like what you've heard, click subscribe and follow to make sure you don't miss an episode. And if you want to learn more, head over to www.ivfthiscoaching.com to learn how to work together.